For Captain America, Brave New World in theaters today. Yeah. And we have normally we have our citizen of Sway in the Morning, Anthony Mackie, here today.
Right, that's our guy. That's our big time friend.
And I know Ant's the big star. Harrison Ford, we text from time to time.
Do you?
But no. only
we text from time to time.
You text from time to time. But the director having the director here means so much to me for so many different reasons when we will tap into that momentarily. But I wanted to make sure he got the proper introduction. And Mike Muse did an awesome town hall with the cast of Captain America, Brave New World yesterday for the company. And Mike, can you do the honors, man, and introduce who this man is sitting next to us?
Oh, my God.
Yes.
It will be an honor and a pleasure, Sway, to introduce this brilliant mind that we have with us in the room. I had the chance to watch Captain America, A Brave New World, and I have seen a lot of superhero movies. I've seen a lot of comic book-based movies who have a lot of different meanings. But when I walked away from Captain America, A Brave New World, I was floored at the execution of this film. This film is more than just a comic book. It explores the duality of the human condition. It explores the dynamic that we have with our ego. It explores the current situations that we're experiencing as a society, both domestically, locally, politically. It has such a credible geopolitical bent, and it has so much conversations around sovereignty, like who we are as nations and nation building. And the beauty of that audience, and to which Sway alluded to why this film is what it is because the person who directed that, there is, and I talk about this openly, I don't like movies and documentaries that are so on beat with current times, because when we watch content and creativity, we still want escapism. I don't mind you challenging me. I don't mind you asking me questions, but I don't want to feel like I just watched the news for 2 hours after watching a film. And what this brilliant director has done is he allowed the film to feel so on time while still allowing me to escape. And that is a true gift unto itself. And so I do believe that we will hear this name be mentioned as one of the greatest filmmakers of our time when it's all said and done with his legacy, and particularly if he keeps going with the type of canon that I know he's going to build. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Julius Onah.
Julius Onah. My God.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Mike, thank you so much. Sir.
Are you Captain America?
Mike is Captain America.
My God.
No.
Okay. This is a full circle moment for Julius and I.
How so?
He and I, wow, man. I want you to talk about this, too. He and I came to work together, how many years ago? Was 15?
2005, 2006.
2005, 2006. As I was one of the anchors at MTV News at that time, and we had what we called a hit squad of individuals who were going to change the world with our storytelling and use MTV to tell the truth, right? Sean Lee, Shaheem Reed, Ritesh, Jason Gallagher, all of these different guys. We all worked on a series called My Block.
Yes.
Joseph Patel.
Joseph Patel.
Yeah.
We all worked on a series called My Block, where we went into different environments and peeled, the nature of how did the music scene get formed, but we applied it to what was going on socially, economically, what was happening in the environment, all of these different things. Julius, what was your title?
I was an associate producer.
Was an AP.
Wow.
And so we would do all of these projects, and we would hand it over to him. And he would supervise the edit, and he would put the stories together to make it all come alive.
Wow.
This was then. And look at him now.
Sheesh.
And, man, bro, I'm so proud of you, man. That just changed the whole interview, man. I'm really proud of you, man, because the kind of work you're doing, I actually want you to speak to that, because you're at the top of your game now, but we're talking about a time where you was an AP. And that could be frustrating at times, right?
There was a great group of people there. I have to give a shout out to Sean Lee, who opened the door for me there, and Joanna Nofre, who was a great partner as well. She was the PA who worked underneath me. We also did a show called Growing Up Black in America that I'm so proud of. We talk about that all the time during Black History Month. That was 2000. I think it's 2006. Then that one premiered. Yeah. Chris Brown was in that
Chris
episode.
Brown.
Really?
Was it Mary J. Blige?
Mary J. Blige. Mary J. Blige
And
as well.
was it Alicia Keys?
I think so. Definitely Mary J. I remember, and Chris Brown.
And
yeah.
they all came to the house in Tarzana that y'all been to.
Of
Yes.
course.
And we
yes.
filmed it in my house.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So, that was so important for me because it was some of my first opportunity to create something that people would consume. And I still remember how proud I was. We would finish these shows and then run home to watch it on MTV,
right?
on TV, And Sway was so great. And I also used to make these little spoof videos on Sway.
Yeah,
And at first, when I made the first one, I'm like, I hope I don't get fired. But he was so kind and sweet and generous. And not everybody who was an anchor was kind and sweet and generous, but he was always so supportive and so motivating. So I don't feel like I would be here now without the support of people like Sway.
Wow.
Jesus,
Damn.
man, this interview is done. Well, I'm gonna talk to this guy after this. How did you make the transition, though? When did you know it was time to stop being the AP and go to the next level?
Well, I always wanted to make movies, and before I had worked at MTV, I had interned when I was an undergrad for Spike Lee, and I spent a summer at his firehouse. And actually, just yesterday, I was in Spike's class at NYU, a class that I had taken.
Wow.
And shared the film, and it was another full circle moment. That this experience has been so gratifying because of those full circle moments. But so I knew I wanted to make movies, but then the opportunity to also just learn. I'll be honest, MTV also spoiled me a little bit, and working with y'all spoiled me because I knew then the production workflow of how to finish something at a high level to present to an audience. So by the time I went to film school, it was like, I don't need to do the post-production. I don't need the time in the Avid. I don't need all that time. I know what I'm doing here. But, I had that fire burning in me. I was in New York. I was doing something I loved, but I knew I needed to make movies. So I was writing scripts on the side. And then I applied to film school after about a year at MTV, and then I luckily got into NYU, and then I just hustled and just worked and here we are.
What do you tell young filmmakers and storytellers who are in those footsteps you were once in?
I think first and foremost, if it's your passion, if it's what you love to do, you do it. So there were nights when I would come back, when we're finishing a show, when we're crashing, you could be working till midnight.
Wait, hold on. I don't mean to interrupt this.
Who that?
We got Sean Lee on the line,
Sean
bro.
That is the only acceptable time to call during an interview.
Sean Lee, I didn't realize you were calling me on my phone. Sean, you there?
That was brilliant.
Sean, I got Julius in the... Bro, I got Julius on the show.
Too good.
Yeah, I got Julius Onah on the show. He just calling me. Julius Onah is on the show.
Oh, that's crazy. Is he there right now?
He's on live, bro.
Sean,
ask him a question. We're live on air, man. This is supposed to be an old different type of interview, but it's a reunion now.
Right.
Go.
Wow.
Oh, man. When are we going to do Growing Up Black, the movie?
I think we're starting right now.
We're going to do it now. Now, he directed Captain America, Brave New World. It's in theaters today, Sean.
Of course.
And Sean Lee is the one that brought you to MTV.
Sean Lee is the one I remember my first meeting, and he was like, I think you're all right.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Anything you want to ask him real quick? Because he has to leave soon. Go ahead.
No. Just love and just continue blessings and success, and let's catch up soon. I'm
Very
actually
soon.
on a flight right now, about to get off the flight, so I can't really just get it in right now.
Okay, appreciate you. Hit me later, man. All right, I just wanted to make this is your life Julius moment. All right?
Yeah. All right, love y'all.
All right,
y'all
love you
too,
too,
man.
man. All right, man. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, man. But I think it's important that people understand that you got to start somewhere. And along the way, there's going to be nuanced scenarios that you got to learn how to navigate. And with that said, what do you tell students?
I would say do the work. First and foremost, if this is what you're passionate about, you have to do it. And so what I was getting at is there would be days, we are working on a show till midnight, but if I needed to get pages done, I would come home and I would write, even when I was also doing the application for film school. So I would do a full, we'd work weekends. But then secondly, to your point about relationships, it's about being there and being present and being authentic and not always worrying about what am I going to get out of this, but just being there to engage and enjoy and to share what you have. And that was what was so great about the experience working with everybody, with Sean, with you, with Joanne, with Joe Patel, with Ritesh, with all those people. It was an environment where nobody is making some of those packages thinking, well, maybe 20 years down the road, I'll be directing this kind of movie, because that moment was what was important. That moment was what was authentic. And to your point, what was so gratifying about it too was making things like Growing Up Black in America, making things like My Block, going to these different communities and using that as a vehicle. There's a way that could have just been fluff, but we really genuinely tried to represent. We really genuinely tried to communicate. And, you know, sometimes that can be tricky in these big systems that have different sets of priorities and agendas. But you just have to be authentic. And that authenticity, you know, it's part of what I love so much about Mackie, too.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie, man. Get that man a round of applause, man. Come on.
You know, and when I first went to New Orleans and spent time with him, and we didn't get to talk about this yesterday. So when I interned for Spike Lee, there was an executive there named Andre Hereford, who I also need to give a shout out to. And he had produced a short film called Crossing with Joe Morton and a young Anthony Mackie. And he was like, oh, you got a decent voice. Can you loop over ADR, replace Anthony Mackie's voice in my short film? So this is me at 19 years old, back in 2002. Never did I think, you know, 20-something years later, I'd be directing Anthony. And I still make fun of him, like, I replaced your voice. I could replace you in this movie.
That's great. Shots fired.
That's crazy.
Be careful.
This is, man, I'm blown up, bro. I'm a little blown away. Give this man another round of applause.
Yes.
We're talking about Brave New World. If you're a Captain America fan, you're going to enjoy this. This is the first solo Captain America film led by a black man, right?
Yep.
How important was it for you to bring a whole new, fresh perspective to the character?
It was incredibly important because
Yeah.
I felt like this was an incredible vehicle and platform. You know, what you want is a story that, again, feels authentic, that's leaning into who Mackie and who Sam Wilson is, but also still feels universal, right? This is a Captain America for all people. But I also love the idea that it could represent a specific history and a specific community and make that also feel universal, you know, because sometimes when you think about Captain America as a symbol, and this is a character that's been on the screens for 81 years, it becomes this standard bearer. Much the same way as the office of the presidency becomes a standard bearer. And we are saying that that experience and that identity can be one that everybody sees themselves in. So it was very important to me that it felt authentic to who Mackie was and who Sam Wilson is, but still felt like something everyone can see themselves in.
Yes.
Anthony Mackie, too, man. I was reading up about the movie, and I'll just be transparent. I wasn't able to see the movie yet. I'm going to tell you that. But I was able to read up and see as much as I could to prepare for this conversation. And I saw a part where Anthony Mackie talked about being so nervous, you know, that he was flubbing the first few scenes and then all of a sudden being opposite of Harrison Ford. Can you imagine, bro?
Of course I can imagine.
That's Harrison Ford. And he said he lost some lines, and somebody of his stature and training, that's not because he wasn't prepared. It was because of the gravity of the scene and who he was working with, and that Harrison Ford took him to the side and gave him advice.
Yeah, I remember that day. You know, I wasn't there with him.
Okay.
You know, that was a one-on-one exchange, but Harrison was, you know, one thing that he said to Mackie that I thought was great was, I'm here to support you. This is your movie. And that was true.
He said that to
Mackie. He
Mackie?
said that to Mackie, you know.
That's so beautiful.
You know,
Wow.
and that's a real generosity, and it was a generosity extended to me when I was nervous too. You know, after he signed on the movie, I went over to his house, and you know, he poured me a drink, and he just said,
What did he pour you?
a whiskey. I can't remember exactly what kind of
Nice.
whiskey, but it was a whiskey.
Okay.
And
Very masculine.
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, it is.
Who found lost treasures.
And he just started cracking jokes. And I knew what he was doing. He was saying, hey, I'm a human being. I'm here to create with you. Don't worry about this whole I'm Harrison Ford, movie star, da-da-da-da-da-da. And that kind of genuine just providing and giving of yourself It doesn't always happen. You know, I feel so fortunate to have some of these experiences and meet some of these people who, you know, just want to be there for the right reasons. And to your point, Mike, that's how I think this movie was able to do some of the things it did, just because people were so giving of themselves.
Amen.
Yeah.
Tracy, get in there before I want to ask about the Red Hulk. Fuck it, I'm already there.
Well, we all know that Marvel operates at such an enormous scale, and there's like, I don't even know, an innumerable amount of moving parts. For you as a director, what's an aspect that perhaps a lot of people don't realize is as challenging as it is?
You know, I would say one of the things that is just incredibly challenging, but also incredibly gratifying is I think sometimes people imagine that it's like a machine and you input this and you output that, and they forget that it's still a creative process. It's just a creative process at a massive scale. So you need to have room for discovery. You need to have room to iterate. When you think about so many classic movies we love, from Wizard of Oz to Jaws to Star Wars, those were all movies that were discovered as they were being shaped and made and edited. And that is how movies get made. And even at this high level, even at a company as, you know, illustrious and as successful as Marvel, that is part of the process too. So for me, obviously that was some real heavy lifting, but I had a great team. I also have to shout out our producer on the film, Nate Moore, who was incredibly supportive. I got to shout out Kiana Davidson as well. And of course, Kevin Feige, Ludo Esposito. We had another executive there, Jillian Henry. It was a great group of people who really, really gave me support as I was taking on this challenge. So, that's something I think that sometimes people aren't aware, that we have to discover and find things.
I'm glad you highlighted that, because it requires a lot of fluidity on your part. And I can, oftentimes as creatives, sometimes we can be more perfectionist. And for you, what you do in your work, does it also help you to shed perfectionism in your personal life?
Yes, it does. You know, look, we all want to operate at the highest standard possible. But one of the things that really became clear to me over the course of making this is you have to iterate to innovate.
Iterate to innovate.
You know, you have to be willing to try things. You have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to have things not work to make real discoveries. Because if you're not surprising yourself, then you're not surprising the audience. You know, so that is a really valuable lesson that I take to heart from this. It's like it's one thing when you know something in concept, but there's another thing when you know it from experience.
Yes.
And again, to what Mike was saying, you know, I'm really proud of the things that we were able to put in this movie, the ideas we were able to experiment with, the ideas we were able to express. But that all came from finding them in an authentic way, and then finding a way to balance that with the spectacle, with the escapism, because it's not just a movie about these issues. It's also a movie about a guy with vibranium wings flying around, fighting a Hulk who's red and hot. And, you know, you still get the escapism of a Marvel adventure and a larger-than-life story. And I think in this moment in time, that's what we need. We need to be able to hold ideas and also have an experience of escapism at the same time and enjoy that duality. And that was what was so important for me with this movie.
Julius Onah is here. You speaking on the Hulk. People were so excited about Harrison's character turning into the Red Hulk, right? Which is, we know the traditional Hulk to be green, right? Why is the Hulk red this time? And then what was it like for you to direct the battling scenes between the Hulk and Captain America?
Well, this goes back to publishing, and the Hulk is red this time because of how he got his powers, which comes from a character named the Leader. Okay. And he also has a different set of attributes. He gets hot. You know, he has some flame and fire capabilities as well. He also has some extreme healing powers. So it's a different flavor of a Hulk.
Think of it like Godzilla almost, like the different types of Godzilla. Like one is like the regular kind, then one's like a fire-breathing one. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that.
Yeah. And in terms of directing it, it's challenging. That's another one of those challenges, but it's so gratifying. We had a great team. A company, Weta Digital, did our visual effects, and there were some great people there, Dan Cox and Sydney. And, you know, some days you're working with a stunt person who's a double for Red Hulk, who's got, you know, literally a photo of the Hulk attached to the back of him so he can be the right height. So Mackie needs to have the right eye line. He can't be looking right. He's got to be looking at somebody 8 feet tall. So sometimes you're shooting that. Sometimes we would have Harrison there. You know, but then again, they're relating to each other but Mackie's got to look up.
You got to look up.
And then there's other times there's nothing there. And Mackie's got to use that brilliant Juilliard training, as you were saying. You know, Mackie's a guy who has done Shakespeare. Mackie's a guy who's been on Broadway. Mackie's done everything. And bringing all that into a movie like this and, you know, working against nothing and making it believable and emotional. So you still see the whole story on his face.
Crazy.
And then you trust these incredible digital artists. There are artists as well to work with you on set and then also over the course of post-production where yet again you are iterating to create this lifelike looking character that is Red Hulk. And I'm so proud of the work they did. But the other thing I was really proud of is that the Red Hulk relationship and Sam Wilson Captain America relationship is not just the action. The action's great, but it's also emotional. It's also about the theme. And for me, this notion of empathy was very important in this
Especially
story.
now.
Especially
now, this notion of empathy. Julius, man, I'm looking at you, dude, in damn near disbelief. You know that this is awesome, man. DB, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just want to point out that it was really cool that this movie's coming out during Black History Month, and I know that there's a ton of challenges that come with trying to get a movie to release either in a month or a specific week or whatever it is. So can you talk about some of the behind the scenes things, you know, the goal of trying to get this movie to release this month? Were there any challenges with that?
You know, we really planned and worked hard, and you know, there were so many layers to this, but it was so important that we could celebrate Sam Wilson and celebrate this character and what it means. And the other thing that also is a layer here is 81 years ago was the first time we saw Captain America on the big screen. February 5th, 1944.
Wow, Black History Month.
What?
And here we are, 81 years later in February, with Sam Wilson as our Captain America.
Wow.
So there is an element of the cinematic legacy. There's obviously what it means for Black History Month. And this is why I think there's something so magical about how this movie came together. But in terms of the work, we grinded. We grinded. You know, I'll be honest, I finished my work on this movie January 24th. You know?
My.
That was like a couple of weeks ago.
2025.
Yeah,
you mean?
because you want everything to look the best it can be. You
What
know?
are those
And-
final
and
touches?
It is tweaking little things like, you know, I don't want to spoil too much of the movie, but like, let's say how a cherry blossom is falling, you know? And I'm open about that because I think it's important to know that for the audience to have the best experience possible, all these artists were always working. And on every movie, you know, I've been behind the scenes on a lot of big movies. We are working this way because you can always make it better. You can always plus it, is what, you know, is often said at Marvel. So you're plussing to the last minute to make sure you have the best experience for the audience. But that's why, again, I feel so gratified to hear Mike saying what he's saying.
Well, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to just jump in. I know we're going to get to this question. That cherry blossom moment, to hear you say you've been working on that since January 25th, was just a couple of weeks ago. That cherry blossom moment, that was one of the moments that stood out to me in the film. So that shows the hard work was worth it about the details, because that cherry blossom moment plays such a significant role in the storytelling. So cheers to you for being that diligent and doing the work, because that mattered.
It paid
It's such
off.
a small moment.
Yeah.
We got Lonnie Light. By the way, you know you're sitting with people who are part of the Marvel universe. I don't know if your handlers know this either, but you know, Heather and I did, you know, star in Luke Cage. So just want to let y'all know I'm family. Go
In
ahead,
multiple
Lonnie.
ways.
Yes.
How you doing, Julius?
How you doing, man? I'm good,
I'm
thanks.
actually a big Marvel fan,
Yeah.
and I went and saw the film yesterday, so I wanted to ask you a question. So with this Brave New World, you know, Sam Wilson, aka Captain America, he's entering into a new era. So I wanted to know, like, how does this phase of the MCU, like, how does it set up for the next phase of the MCU?
Well, I'm not going to give too many spoilers, but we're at the end of Phase 5 here. There's one more movie called Thunderbolts. And as you know, there haven't been Avengers, you know. So what's critical in this story is it's about also setting up Sam. And Captain America has typically been the leader of the Avengers, setting him up as somebody who can lead an Avengers team. Now, what that's all going to look like, I don't want to say too much.
Okay.
But let's just say we're going to have some interesting things going on with the Avengers going forward. But this is the reset. This movie is the one that sets the stage for that. So, you know, I encourage everybody to go see it to understand also where Sam's coming from emotionally and why he's going to make some of the decisions he makes going forward that I think are going to pay off in really, really exciting ways.
I'm there tonight, man. That's going to be my
Love it.
Valentine's Day movie is
There you
tonight,
go.
man.
Go see the IMAX too.
Yeah.
Go see it in IMAX, you said? All right, man. Give it up for this guy, man. Julius, listen.
Julie, way to sell a film.
This has nothing to do with the movie, but the movie industry, because I watch a lot of international films, you know, and I go into these, like I watch Bollywood and I watch Nollywood films, and you're Nigerian, right? Do you have aspirations of going to Nigeria and building projects through the Nollywood industry?
Absolutely. You know, I made a little short film called Big Man there through a program called Africa First. Another person I need to shout out, Keisha Cameron Dingle, who was very supportive and helped bring me in to that program. I made a little short film there to test the waters because I really want to go back. You look at a movie like Slumdog Millionaire and how that was able to take elements of Bollywood and make it very international, and there's such a rich reservoir of experience and so much amazing talent in Nigeria. There's a Nollywood film coming.
There's one coming?
There's one coming.
All right.
Okay, good, man. That's important. That's a big industry, and they're getting better and better, the films that I'm seeing coming out of Nollywood. And, man, I can't express enough how proud I am of you and honored I am that I've had a chance to be in the early stages of your career and that it made such an imprint on you.
Thank you.
You know, and the other thing is I feel so lucky because I know I'm going to be in one of these damn movies.
There you go.
Oh, my God. I know he's going to pass. Yo, he's going to pass. Julius, you going to pass us, man.
Exactly.
You was editing my face 20 years ago. Now you got to cast my face.
I will.
But anything you want to leave our audience with about this movie?
You know what I was saying before, it's a movie about empathy. It's a movie about seeing what's good in each other. And that was so important to me. Everybody in this room, there's been a goodness I've been able to experience from our history, just getting to meet Mike, meet you, Trace, everybody, you know. I'm so thankful for this. And that thanks I wanted to put into this movie. It's a movie to share with communities. It's a movie to share across the world. So I encourage everybody to go out there and have a good time. Valentine's Day.
Absolutely, man.
There we go.
And I commend you because you make sure you name check everybody along the way.
That part, I noticed
That's
that.
very impressive. And I know you saying names of people whose names we never hear.
Yeah.
So, man, congratulations. Julius Onah, man. Get his man.
Come on, Julius.
Thank you.
Movie out today, Captain America, Brave New World.
Yes.
Oh, man, love you, brother. Proud of you, man. Proud of you, man.